Titus Ashley here. What's up? Um, I just want to bring light to the issue of um, blacks in slavery. It's 2012, of course. Slavery happened um, some years back, and first off, I'm like pro-black or self-proclaimed activist or whatever you want to call it. But I always study, I always look into black issues and black problems. So a lot of my conversation involves either God or um, black people and slavery and the social ills of black people today. So I always get the same dumbass response from either black people or white people. Mostly black people, to tell you the truth. White people say it also, but most of the people I talk to is black, and a lot of times they say the same shit, and it's stupid as fuck. But that's black people need to get over slavery. It happened a long time ago. Get over it. But I can't fathom how the fuck somebody would think that and say that if they're looking and they're studying about society and stuff that goes on in society today. It don't make no sense whatsoever for you to say that black people need to get over slavery because it's a one word that you need to include in your vocabulary. Look this shit up. It's called residual effects. So just because you did some shit a while back doesn't mean that the effects of the thing that you did is still affecting us today. And slavery is fucking slavery. It's probably one of the most horrific human events that ever happened in the history of humanity. And I say that shit proudly, like not proudly that it happened, but I can say that shit with confidence. It ain't nobody else, no other history that had as horrific fucking history as African Americans did here in America. A lot of people say, well, everybody's been in slavery, everybody enslaved other people at one point in time. Bullshit. Chattel slavery in America was unlike any other form of slavery in the history of the motherfucking world, all the way back to the ancient Egyptians and the Hebrews to now. Okay, the history of the world. You got to understand that 100 million people lost their lives during the Ma'afa or African slavery here in the colonies, and when Europeans enslaved us, that was the worst. Period. So get the fuck out of here with that. Everybody's been in slavery shit. Ain't nobody been in slavery or went through the shit that we went through here in America. That's one point. The next point is that when we went into slavery, right, we weren't no savages, no fucking monkeys swinging from trees and shit. Africa had civilization. Less than 1% of the African population or the pygmy or the bushmen, as people love to show the villages, the straw huts and the shit like that. You gotta understand that Africa is fucking Europeans came to Africa to learn at our universities to go back and teach Europe because of this fucked up ass education that we get here in America in the high schools in middle schools and shit. We pretty much perceive Africa as savages and uncivilized people, and that's not true if you do your research. But most people don't want to do their research because they want to stay ignorant, to stay stupid. You went over there to Timbuktu, for example, and you took people from Timbuktu that knew architect, that were doctors, that were lawyers, that were clergymen, that were librarians. The biggest library, Sankora University, we had the biggest library. The number one trade in Timbuktu was trading in books. So if you want to make money in Timbuktu, you buy some books and sell them because that's what people were doing. It wasn't no people in the jungle with fucking bones on their nose and straw hats and shit. We had civilization. So a lot of people try to justify it. I heard black people say this dumb fucking shit, dude. Like your mama need to be killed for letting you grow up thinking that shit. But black people even said that thank God for slavery because if it wasn't for slavery, we'd be still in Africa. You don't understand that if it wasn't for slavery, Africa would be the greatest country in the world. If it wasn't for colonization, Africa would be the greatest country in the world. It was the greatest country in the world. Our civilization got destroyed. It didn't crumble, that shit got destroyed. You come over there, you take all the smartest and the brightest of a culture, what's going to happen to that culture? You kill 100 million people and you take 20 million more, what's going to happen to that culture? If they come over here right now to America and they take all the professors, all the doctors, all the lawyers, they take all the scientists and engineers, and they put their ass on the ship and take them away, what the fuck is gonna happen to this country? You're gonna have the bottom of the barrel of that country trying to hold that country together. But they did. A lot of people think slavery was mostly people picking cotton, but agriculture was a little bit of the trade, slave labor. We had architects. They had architects build Washington D.C. Think about that shit. The White House built by slaves. The white people wasn't the architects out there. The slaves were the architects. We taught them how to build. You gotta understand that shit. Doctors used to come from Europe, go to Ghana, and they learned how to do surgery in Ghana, and went back and taught Europeans how to do it. Europeans didn't even know how to wash. Didn't know that you have to wash your hands before you operate on somebody. They didn't understand none of that shit. Darwin's law of evolution, or Darwin's theory, is founded from Al Jahiz, who wrote a book called the Book of Animals, and he wrote another book called The Triumph of the black people over the white people. White people wasn't regarded as highly as we regard them now because of their imperialization and their cultural domination of everybody else. What they did was they took us and made us believe that we were inferior, and they forced all of their ideals upon us to today. That's why you got women dyeing their hair blonde and wearing weave, and you got African Americans, honestly, most of them honestly believe that white people are better than black people because of the institutions such as the public school system. This shit is beat into our heads when we learn history. So that's why the black dog, white dog test is come. The results come out such as they do. And another thing that slavery did, it wasn't just forced labor. If it was just forced labor, we probably could have and should have gotten over it by now. What it was imperialization. You took every fucking thing from us. You don't understand what slavery was because you're looking at the shit on in textbooks and on TV, and that shit is brief. But you took everything black people had. You changed our fucking name. We can't trace our history back. I tried to do an ancestral trace on me. I went back three generations. My dad's dad is the only how far I can go back because they didn't keep up with our birth certificate. We don't know what region of Africa we came from. We don't know our culture in Africa. We don't know our religion. We don't know our people's last name in Africa. We don't know shit. They gave us names. They replaced everything we know. They told all of the knowledge. How basically when you have children, you learn and you build up wealth and you pass that wealth on to your children and that knowledge on to your children, and your children build upon that and pass it on to their generations. We didn't have a chance to do that shit. We didn't have a wealth to store. We store up wealth in the South. It actually was illegal for a black person to own more than a certain amount of stuff. A black person couldn't own a certain amount of land, and they couldn't have a certain amount of money. That shit was illegal. So black people had to find good white people to give their money to hold their money because they couldn't have that. So we wasn't able to store up wealth. See, a lot of people looking at Emancipation Proclamation, which was 1963, right? That did not mark the end of slavery. It did on paper. After that, it was a history called peonage here in America, where it was forced labor anyway. You forced people into slavery anyway. Don't get it twisted. The North just frowned upon slavery because they was more industrial, but they didn't come down here and help black people actually be free. One day you on fucking plantations, the next day you free. Who the fuck you gonna work for? How you gonna eat? Where you gonna live at? You know what I'm saying? That's where the 40 acres and the mules were supposed to come in, but they didn't give us that shit. So now we got to work for white people that's already mad because they went to war to keep us, and they set up a systems like the sharecropping, where you work on my land, you live in my house, and I charge you rent and I charge you for supplies and shit. Because they didn't allow us to get our own shit. So we had to start off from the bottom without nobody ever helping us up. They didn't give us shit. America never gave black people shit. Get the fuck out of here, man. you complain about welfare, you complain about all this. That shit doesn't compare to what black people have given to America. So all sharecropping did was get you deeper and deeper into debt because nobody came to our aid. Nobody paid us for the slavery. Nobody did shit. So after generations and generations, all you doing more and more is becoming more and more in poverty. You becoming more and more enslaved. Then they started the prison lease system, where I'm walking up the road, a white person come up to me and say, "What you doing here?" If I don't give him the right answer, that motherfucker could put me in jail. And I go to jail, and then I get leased out to motherfucking people for free, and they pay the state for my labor. Prison lease system, look that shit up, and I'm not exaggerating. When they finally ended the prison lease system, over 800,000 black men was released and with trumped up charges, bullshit ass charges. So that's where that really was the tipping point where black people became overrepresented in crime and in prison. They became overrepresented because white people still was creating slavery, but using different names. They creating slavery and they doing slave shit, but they just not calling the shit slavery. So we here in history are steady people right now are steady saying we need to get over slavery. We haven't had the chance to get over slavery because America never righted their wrongs. Never righted their wrongs. That shit continues. And one of the biggest things, one of the many big things that slavery did to us was set up a mind frame in us, in black people as well as white people, that black is bad, white is good. And this mind frame is what leads to employee discrimination. Slavery is over with, but this shit is residual effects. Remember, residual effects. That shit continuing to affect us today. I go and get a job. They only portray us as criminals, as drug dealers, as rappers, as booty shakers, and prostitutes, and just all negative shit. This shit affects you. Harvard and Yale and all of these big colleges got programs called implicit association test. And implicit association test shows today that most people view black people as negative and view white people as good. Look this shit up. Implicit association test. So all of these ideas come from slavery. So slavery is still affecting Titus Ashley right now. Slavery is still affecting you right now. The reason you think that black people are bad and white people are good, the reason the black dog, white dog test is failed, the reason we have housing discrimination, the reason we have white flight, the reason we have blacks in the ghettos and shit, the reason we have lower blacks in college acceptance is because of slavery. So we haven't had the chance to get over slavery because of institutional racism. We have systematic racism. You got media bias, media racism. You got the school system that's fucked up. The shit they teaching our kids every day is fucked up. We haven't had the chance to get over slavery. Do your research and stop saying that shit. If anybody, white or black, ever said that blacks need to get over slavery, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Remain ignorant and kill yourself. For me, please. I hope you burn in hell. Because blacks haven't had the chance to get over slavery. That's what's the most horrific event. We haven't had the chance to get over it. Nobody helped us out. What they did to the Jews, they went and helped them out. They gave them aid. They gave the Indians aid. And nobody never gave us no aid. And then they always want to say that blacks received enough from America. We haven't received shit from America. We still getting killed. Trayvon Martin, the boy that got shot in the BART station, we still getting killed. And people are easily bringing up the criminal element of a black man. I get shot in the back. If I had a record, then they're going to say, well, he was pretty bad. What the fuck, Trayvon Martin ain't got no record? You know what I'm saying? No matter what, we wear a hoodie. They always criminalize everything black people do. If we, no matter what the fuck we do, is criminalized. It's shown in a negative light, and everyday fucking white Americans look at this shit and they associate us with negativity. Implicit association test. Titus Ashley, I'm out, man. I think I made a video too long, but check out my website, man. eminentblack.com. It ain't really finished. I'm still working on it. But alright though, man. If you disagree with me, fuck you. Fuck you for real. Yeah.